Sheila here with Sirius Telus Moon, and this is what prompted me to press record. And this is it's actually red beryl, big spite, and I should have big spite, which is n- not as expensive but quite expensive. And big spite is a stone that is about joy of living for me, but it went missing. I bought it I bought it when I was looking for something like even a carat of like red beryl, and there was a reason I was looking for that, and this is because it's transmuting sexual trauma, and that was connected to like tantric embodiment and so on. So I was looking for that crystal, basically to heal, and then I found big spite, and it was like a joy of living stone, and then it got missing. It's somewhere out there, and it's so small that I believe that if like my mother would find it, she could literally swipe it out with the trash. Anyway, this is red beryl, and the reason I said I have to record is because it's found in Utah, and and I'm like, I was just thinking about, I think I was talking about rhodochrosite when I mentioned that. This is Jupiter hour, by the way. The moon is in Virgo, but too close to Ketu to have like a Jupiter talisman. Jupiter is like a megalithic T square, so it is trining Saturn though. And um, I was just thinking about how a crystal is found in the place where people need it. And that's something I learned from Adam Barelet, and how the geographical placement of a crystal is basically showing what the people of the place or the crystal formation carries the energy of the healing that the people in that place need. And I'm like, Utah. Utah. People in Utah need to heal from ritual satanic abuse. And red beryl, let me see if I can um, give you a reading about red beryl, because I was trying to get like even a carat of red beryl. I always like to look at spiritual properties, and those are the things that correlate with love crystal vaults. Those are the things that correlate with the geographical place where the rock is found. For example, Israel has a lot of calcite and quartz. Quartz is clarification of something and attuning with time. Okay, it's the crystal that basically we find in watches. And calcite is like a soap cleansing the chakras. So that's that's definitely um, something that cleaning all the chakras is definitely something that people living in this region would need. And quartz is kind of like the transparent energy. It's one of the basic crystals that we learn how to use to attune, to cleanse. And the calcites are basically correlating with all the chakras. So that's like everything needs cleansing because the fundament it's a region that contains fundamental traumas, uh, but no less so is like Utah, where all the Mormons at, and and people deal with ritual abuse, and then they go to like the youth school that is like youth at risk school, and they perpetuate the traumas there and haunt the families to believe that the child will do everything to manipulate them to get away. Um, So they do red beryl as big spite, but those are two different crystals. Okay, it's the right time crystal, self-confidence, knowing the right time to change one's mind, direction, or to do something. Strength of purpose and courage, spark action needed to overcome undesirable circumstances, um, protector and healer, particularly for heart and root chakras, drawing the life force from the earth. So this is basically Kundalini rise, and but in connection with the soil. And indeed, ritual satanic abuse is done to corrupt the soil and basically put people's under mind control, and it's done as wealth consolidation on the real estate and the resources. And we know Utah has, Salt Lake City has red beryl. Red beryl is the rarest crystal, one of the rarest crystals, I think. And encourages harmony, cooperation, compatibility with others. In intimate relationship, it can steer the fires of passion, um, provide courage to make deep emotional commitments. Extraordinarily rare. One crystal found in every one, 150,000 diamonds. It's estimated to be worth 1,000 times more than gold and can go up to $10,000 per carat. So I guess a mixture of big spite, a mixture of red beryl and another crystal would reduce the price very likely. If it's like way less than a carat, then um, but the pure ones, of course, are 10,000 per carat. It is presently found only in three locations: Thomas Range in Wawa Mountains, Utah, and the Black Range in New Mexico. New Mexico. I was hearing so much about New Mexico because there were so many people immigrating to New Mexico, and they were really like recommending to move there. Um, but from what I see, this is kind of like Exodus Mar-a-Lago type of, okay, where we would face the same problems as Utah, and that's and I guess that's why um, I don't know what is the Thomas Range, both of them in Utah. So we understand what is the connection between the mineral and oh, Uranus Sedna is going to give us so much about both the astrology of where we would find minerals, but also the connection of the minerals and what they can heal. Because Sedna would have these qualities that are of the psychic qualities, showing that each of us is a part of a grand universe, but also that our particular or particle importance within that universe. Um, okay, think about the child that was sacrificed to for the father to have demonic powers, and the child was basically to be trafficked, and then she drowned. Um, that that brought world hunger. That brought, and it still does, by the way. Um, and people thought that she was just a child that doesn't want anyone, when in fact the right touch for Sedna would be a touch that is providing, honoring, loving, not just seeing her as, someone that is idyllic and can make babies on the one hand, and on the other hand is being used, not having decision on when she will have children, and is required to sleep with people, both to have people pleasing her sexual needs as service, and to please people's sexual needs as service. And it just doesn't work with erotic intelligence. There's just so much intricacy. And when she was sacrificed or put as an offering to the lower astral demons, um, basically the entire tribe had to appease Sedna for food, and she's venerated as a relationship goddess, reminding us to be like Sedna, to stand our ground, to not take every hand that is offered to us if their touch is not honoring, respectful, and providing for our well being while honoring our sovereignty. That's the essence of erotic intelligence. So Sen has a lot to do with the minerals. Um, think about the fact that the Arctic is the place everybody fights over their minerals as well. Um, and the Mongols, they have, still in Mongolia today, they have rare earth minerals. Although they say that rare earth minerals are found everywhere, and I believe that we're going to find new minerals, new crystals, and with the healing properties, particularly now where there is such an awakening of, many people find themselves in position. I talked about Aries being conjuncting my seventh and fourth house, and Aries being the cloning project. Okay, and seventh is partner, and fourth house is upbringing, motherland, housing, of course, grave as well. If you think about it, the grave is our housing after we pass, or after we cross over. Um, and actually, I saw a video about a girl that was preserved, a woman that was preserved with some antiquity preservant form, that her, so many years after she was buried, her body was like literally preserved. And then they opened the casket and she began to rot like within hours or so. And so the people that were in, like the people that wanted to share that discovery with the world were either confiscated or unalived. And the look into immortality, um, and the weird things people do, because the cloning project is so irrational in the torture they put people through to mind control them and then grant them immortality, which is like the antithetical. I mean, yeah, they explore death, but also it's the antithetical way. And even when we think about clones of the dead, like, why not have beautiful upbringing for these clones? Like, I would think, for example, royalty are the people that are grown with like the best conditions and the best of care, and not always. And they would be provided with certain type of care where, let's say, like stories when a mother was told to call her son, um, like I don't know, like a big boss or something like that. Um, and those were experiments in upbringing, but they were later used to have the royalty and the elite mind controlled and enslaved. Annika Lucas talks about that. Um, she says none of these people are actually free, and those are the people that are supposed to provide for their kingdoms, and that is we the people, whether it's democracy or monarchy or whichever type of regime, even cooperative type of regime in the Moshav and the kibbutz, they were torturing children and trafficking them. And I actually know a survivor that was trafficked in those settings. Okay, so she grew in a kibbutz and a moshav. And mind you, when those kibbutzes and moshavs were privatized, it was basically a cooperative settlement. When they were privatized, people became millionaires at the very least with a fraction of a second. And and so those were human experiment projects. Yeah. So as I got as Aries approached more and more my Mercury, I was exposed to the cloning project and juxtaposed and so on. And to be very honest, it is so much so because people are so enslaved there that people like, how should I say it? A person, even if a person was to be, um, let's put it that way, if somebody would be said to be um, trafficked to be a first lady, they're like, it's a human trafficking. And the people that had the privilege to grow outside of the circles, okay, not the material privilege, but the maybe soul privilege to grow outside of these circles, they would be the people that would be exposed to, like, loving ourselves and relational, growing from relational trauma and learning communication skills. And and again, it's not that the royalty doesn't have communication skills, that they would have the communication skills that is fit for their circles. And then when something like that comes by, it looks like a trafficking agenda, which is indeed a trafficking agenda. One of the things that were exposed in the Epstein ring is that um, at least one first lady was basically trafficked to her husband, and just imagine the, like just think about the satire because okay, it's kind of like somebody wants you to think about point of view. Somebody has an agenda to, for whatever their reasoning, to put you as a first lady. Okay, from your perspective, somebody's trying to traffic you. Now, here's the thing. Maybe the Pope can relate. Because think about the Medicis. They came to power. They were doing this change, um, change. You know those change when you travel or you just change the currency, and then they became like bankers, and then they to rise to monarchy, to level of monarchy family. They basically erected a pope, and so from the perspective, now here's the thing. If a person would be, let's say a child is born to a family, okay, and that child is kind of like, um, how should I say that, neurodivergent, okay, it's okay, they can be a priest. And now here is why, because the priesthood class, let's say in India, the priesthood and merchant class, and this is why we have the Vatican Bank, because it's priesthood and merchants. Um, they basically have, yeah, but they basically have those shamanic qualities of healers, and they also need to be imbued with trade, because their religion cannot just stay in the upper realms, okay? It has to bring it to the people, and they need to have the contact with, like, the economy. So a lot of these there's a lot of trafficking in the clergy. And then, imagine somebody wants to erect somebody to be a pope, and that person's like, somebody's trying to traffic. I'm not sure, it's not a documentary. So, and you have to understand that in those ritual like circles, they are harming one another, and they have to harm like the next helpless person. So they are raped and they have to rape others. And it's like, if you think about it from we the people perspective, if we would see like something like that happening in the community, we would say, who are these barbaric people? And it's like, that's our monarchies, that's our aristocracy. They were cloned for that. They So who are these people? Like that's youth at risk behaviors. Like yeah, they're 60, some of them 70. What will you do when you'll be old? I'll have a cloning farm. Uh, oh, that's so nice. And and the thing is, because they are praised for being the most cruel, basically gets them to be praised. So they would be proud of those stories, which is beyond terrible. But because they were tortured as children, it's almost like the child comes to show you, like, let's say, as a person that tends to, like, the satanic ritual abuse and abolishing those practices and so on and so forth. So let's say I would cover something, then the other person would sneak in a story through someone. It would end up either on Trudy's page or whatnot. And this would be like obvious that they're like trying to get the attention through showing, and this is beyond horrid, but in those, but we also have to understand that in those societies, they were praised for bringing in those things. Okay, they were basically praised for, let's say they sacrificed a child and tortured a child, and they were like, oh, good, fantastic. So So some of them have this inner child aspect that expects you to go, oh, that's so great. And it's like, no, 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 no. Wait, those type of practices are undermining our entire existence as humanity, regardless if we are kings or people or everything. So, um, wait a second, there was more about the big spite. Okay. The raspberry red crystals were first discovered in 1904 by mineralogist Maynard Bixby and named Bixbyite in his honor. The term has since been discouraged by the World Jewelry Confederation to avoid confusion with the rare black mineral Bixbyite. So I did have a red beryl, and I don't know if my mom found it. Basically, it might be that she swiped it with the trash. That means I need to buy another Bixbyite. I actually want a ring, a big spite ring for myself because hey, I've been through so much that I deserve it, but from an ethical mining, um, and I actually had red. Maybe I even have it, red beryl. And if it's in there somewhere, and my cat hasn't found it, and my mom hasn't like swiped the floor with it, then basically it's there healing me. Just and I bought it with the Saturn Neptune and it went missing. So and this is where Neptune is miraculous healing, where the physical manifestation of the rock is kind of like it's somewhere out there, but I don't see it. It supposedly went missing, but the miraculous healing that's coming from that energy is actually doing wonders in my life. Red beryl is now a more accepted term. The trade name Big Spite is still in use. So the black mineral Big Spite. So that means that I have red beryl. Now here's the thing: it's the carats. Let's say even when you buy diamonds, right? They're like 60 carat, and they are like I don't know how does it work with the numbers. Um, and so you can get a big spite. It's still expensive, but you can get a big spite or a red beryl. It's just not going to be as many carrots. Okay, so it's kind of like less carrot, like less pure, and then it's still accessible. Um, the red pinkish variety of, and I had a pinkish of beryl is beryllium aluminium silicate mineral, colored by manganese and traces amounts of iron, chromium, and calcium. It forms in prismatic and sometimes striated crystals in silica-rich volcanic rock, known as topaz-bearing rhyolites. It also is referred to as red emerald or scarlet emerald. It has been confused at times with pezotite, called raspberry beryl or raspberry. No, I had pezotite. I had a pezotite, which is found in Madagascar. And Madagascar is along the moon line of my moon. And Afghanistan. So Madagascar and Afghanistan, then pezotite would do something like a red beryl. Um, but for particularly like if it's found in Afghanistan, Afghanistan has highly matriarchal society and right now highly terroristic society. It's not even patriarchal. and um, and Madagascar. So they cut gems, and Madagascar is known to be like this expensive place that the people come to. So it would be doing around the same things that Red Emerald is doing, with this joy of living type of thing. And it's cut gems. It can be distinguished from red beryl by a refractive index. Toad Big Spite is the red variety of beryl. The beryl family also has other colors, so green emerald is a beryl, blue aquamarine, yellow heliodor, and golden beryl, pink morganite, and the colorless variety goshenite. Um, it's used for healers and encourages expression of energy through action and movement. Excellent talismans for athletes and others who use their physical bodies extensively. And this is where, when I was in between houses, I was working with the red beryl by picture and connecting with the essence of my desires, okay, what I actually do want. And I constantly had to move around. So basically, I was using dancing to not freeze in the cold and so on. So that was really energy that I needed with me. Um, Red beryl is not only a crystal of passion, but enkindles warm, affectionate, lasting love. It may be carried or worn to attract a soulmate and for keeping a relationship and caring and supportive even in difficult times. Um, Overcoming grief and loss, heartbreak or betrayal, and to keep the heart open in order to receive love in the future. Helps family coolness with estranged relatives, particularly if it's over a love choice, and good connection with people that need to communicate with their ex-partner's new love if they are like having shared custody. Um, Protect her against negativity from and against manipulation, deception. Um, Good for people that have like this persuasion to stand in those like really persuasive energies. Um, made Carry the wand when making major purchases for wisdom, resistance to sales pressure. And I'm like, this is the most expensive crystal in the world. So, um, can be used for people to aid energetically to people dealing with leukemia and cancer, spleen, meridian, thyroid, pancreas, lungs, liver, kidneys. Um, okay, excellent for sexual imbalances, particularly after sexual abuse, to feel more secure and healthy towards sexual expression. Um, releasing karmic conflict and ancient wounds. Like a 9 millennia pedo called that. How does Trudy call it? Clones of the dead. And I'm not against people wanting to clone. It's just like the thing is the upbringing. The thing is that so many of our worldly problems would be resolved. Gita Chavez with um, thank you, Gita Chavez. Clones of the dead are associated with Khazarian mafia. And then my mom comes in and says, Gita Chavez. No, I don't. I was just mentioning something and then you came around. That's all. Um, like, am I supposed to explain that point right now? I don't think it's possible. It strengthens loyalty and camaraderie and frees one to live with courage and zeal. Um, opening root and heart chakras. Yeah, I'll get to that. And creative force connected with the earth star chakra. Um, so, yeah.